My name is Michael Guerin. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the program manager of Smart Docklands, which is our smart city testbed here. So I know some of you have heard me speak before a little bit about our smart city testbed. I just want to give those who are visiting today a little bit of background on what Smart Docklands is, and then update those in the room who do know what Smart Docklands is and what we've achieved over the last 12 months. So, to give some context on the Docklands itself, this picture was taken in the 1960s in the Docklands. It was a busy hub, a busy port, a very busy port in Europe. It was where the Guinness barges came up the River Liffey, and was one of the busiest and hardest working areas of Dublin. It went through some tough times. This is in 1970s. Just before the IFSC was announced. So the IFSC, for those who don't know Dublin, is the International Financial Services Centre, where it is home to most of the biggest financial institutions in the world. Most of them have an office there, and as that happened, it started to attract a lot of talent and attention to the Docklands, and now, admittedly from a slightly better angle, this is what the Docklands looks like. To give some context for those who don't know the area, 44,000 people employed there and 26,000 residents. It's home to over 500 businesses, and there's over 3 billion private investment between now and 2025 in the area. What we wanted to do is have a test bed in Dublin City, so we designated the Docklands area as the area where we trial and test our technology. It's 3 square kilometres in the centre of the city, and it's home to a lot of businesses, over 500 I mentioned earlier. So some of these businesses, Google, who are based here, employ 8,000 people. Facebook, the office we're in, they employ 5,000 people. So there's a lot of big tech companies based in one area, and we as the City Council wanted to capitalise on that. So we started a Smart Docklands network about 3 years ago, where we got all these guys in a room once a quarter. We talked about what we could do with the city and also what they could do with each other. After about a year, we stopped the meetings because we thought they weren't particularly productive, and we got a lot of emails to start them up again because they might not be doing a huge amount with us, but they were doing a lot with each other in the room. Which is why we have events like this now, at least twice a year, where we try and get people from the Docklands community in one room, and they can discuss what they need to discuss. So Smart Docklands itself as a programme is funded by Dublin City Council and Connect, which is the Science Foundation Ireland Research Centre, and Enable, which is the Science Foundation Ireland spoke, focused on connectivity and smart communities. We have deployed quite a lot over the last 12 months, so I think you see a lot of smart cities talking about what they can do. These are all things that are actually deployed in the Docklands. So those of you who will be here on Wednesday will be doing a tour of things actually deployed on the streets, which is quite exciting for me, believe it or not. So we have smart bins, big belly bins deployed. We have air quality sensors, flooding sensors, smart gully sensors. We've deployed over 700 smart bike lights, smart bench, but I'm going to run through a couple of the big items just to give you a bit more background on them. One of which you heard Jamie mention Dense Air earlier. So we engaged Dense Air about 18 months ago now to trial a 5G network in the Docklands. So we wanted to look at a neutral host small cell 5G trial network over a 2-year period. We wanted to understand how difficult it was to deploy 5G small cells and understand what we needed to do to overcome the barriers. I'm happy to tell you, we now have over 20 small cells deployed in the Docklands on street lights and traffic lights. We also have a number of small cells deployed indoors. So these are the things that will give us 5G whenever 5G is in Ireland. As you can see, it just looks like a large alarm clock. So we have some of these deployed in the CHQ building and some other buildings around the Docklands. I mentioned earlier we have a number of big belly bins around the Docklands. Admittedly, it is just a bin, but it is a smart bin. So the bin it's a solar panel on it, and it compresses the rubbish. It lets you know when the bin is full. So we have deployed 110 of these in the Docklands, and so at Dublin City Council used to go around these bins a couple of times a day. They now, because of the software we're using, we've reduced bin collections in the area by 87%. And if any of you have been in the Docklands at rush hour, you know there's already enough cars on the road, so getting more trucks off the road is definitely a benefit. Another big thing which you'll see displayed down the back is our 3D model. So this is a 3D model of the whole of the Docklands area. We've built this digital twin to try and understand what the city could use it for and what others could use it for. So this is obviously drone footage, but just to give you an idea of what the drone footage looks like compared to the footage of the 3D model itself. So as you can see, it's very detailed. It's been deployed now in a full AR and VR environment, which is the screen that you'll see at the back. So Veronica in our Smart Dublin team and Sean from D3D will be displaying it for the rest of the event. You can see the detail in the model. Buildings like the CHQ building, which are particularly difficult to model. So we have the model for this, but what we also wanted to explore is different types and ways of modeling buildings. So we have explored things like point cloud, 3D LiDAR scanning. So you can see here what the very raw footage looks like and what you can start to do then once you build up these types of models of cities. What we're also starting to use it for within Dublin City Council. So again, you can see the detail on the convention centre there. Dublin City Council are starting to explore new bridges in the Docklands. So any of you who cycle up and down the quays, you will know this is a bit of a tight area. They're exploring 2 new bridges here, one for pedestrians and one for cyclists. But the real benefit of the model for us is that we can put these new designs into the model and start to visualize what it looks like. And then we can start to get engagement both internally and externally to see how people would feel about these new bridges. So this is, again, what one of the other bridges will look like. This is obviously just a video, but the guys down the back have the 3D model of this, and you can put on the headset and move around the Docklands. So what we did back in May, and the reason I'm highlighting this is we open source this model for anyone to use. So we had a hackathon in Windmill Lane with quite a number of partners. You can see them all listed here. The idea was that we wanted to let anyone use the model and see what they could do with it. So we had some really interesting solutions. These are 2 of the solutions. These are the top 2 solutions. So this was a company called Place Engage that wanted to use AR to try and understand what new buildings would look like and get citizen feedback. So you can see what a 9-story building would look like, and then an 11-story building, and you can start to see the impact in the area. So what we'd like to do is you could stand anywhere in the Docklands and see the 2 different buildings and start to get feedback from citizens. So these guys are now developing this, and they got some funding through the event to develop this further. Another thing is with the Dublin Fire Brigade. So they are using AR to plan their response before they get to a location, so they can identify where the risers are, the alarm panels, hydrants, so that they can respond much quicker when they arrive on site. Another project that we had this year, which was very successful, Velo City is the world's largest cycling conference. It was held here in Dublin for the first time, so we decided to run a cycle tech challenge as part of it. The idea was we were looking for better data, safer cycling, cycling security, and things that related to intelligent transport systems. We had, I think, applicants from 12 different countries, which was great for us, but I'm just going to show you 4 of the solutions that we're now trialing in Dublin. So very briefly, one of them is a cycle that have indicator lights for bikes. So a lot of people, for cycling safety, people don't want to cycle because they don't feel comfortable putting their hand out. So these are indicator lights that you can just click with your finger. Newvale is a cargo trailer for bikes. So again, people drive to places like to do their grocery shopping because they don't want to carry their groceries on their bike home. So what we're trialing is, could we have a couple of these for people to use in the city? Another one is a cycler's app. So this is to plan routes specifically for cyclists. So this will give you the safest or greenest route for a cyclist rather than necessarily the quickest route on a very busy road. So we're working with the Dublin Cycling campaign to roll this out. And then the last one is clicks and links. So this is a way of visualizing new cycle plans. So I showed you the 3D model earlier. What we'd like to do is put in plans for new bike lanes into that 3D model, and then use this type of technology that you can get on a bike and visualize what the new cycle lanes would be like. So it's all different types of technology. Some of it's VR, some of it's hardware, some of it's different things, but all relating to cycling. And I'm just going to finish up on all of this is based on engagement. So I've mentioned there are a couple of ways that we engage with the market to try and find big solutions like this, but also engagement with communities is extremely important. So we do a lot with tech and startup community and universities and research centres. We've now run a number of workshops with community groups and residents and business owners. And out of that, the idea was to try and identify challenges that people face in the Docklands. So we now have over 400 challenges, which we're trying to address. Certainly opened a can of worms with that, but these are some of the themes that you can see emerging, and this is forming our program of work now. So you can see things there around connectivity, around flooding, around safer cycling, etc. So these are the things we're now starting to address. And just a bit of a pat on the back for us while I'm up here. Some of the some of the awards we have won in the last 12 months. So we were finalists at the World Smart City Awards. Smart Docklands was listed as #1 smart in the strategy section for smart locations of the future, and Dublin came 3rd overall. And we also won the Social Impact Award at the World Small Cell Awards in May. So that's a brief overview of Smart Docklands. I'd like to welcome everybody here who hasn't been in the Docklands before, and looking forward to the next couple of days. Thanks very much.
That's right.